Welcome to Recipe Club, the show where we debate the best way to cook the food you want to eat. My name is Chris Ying. Today, in attendance at the club, we have three incredibly overqualified club members. First, of course, our veteran Recipe Club's co-founder, who may or may not be secretly trying to destroy the club, David Chang, is here. Next, former CDC of Qua in San Francisco and culinary producer at Major Domo Media, it's Andrew Miller, everybody. Woo! And finally, one of the most Chinese white guys you'll ever meet, and an incredible chef, a fellow Cal Bear, Marc Johnson.
The M&M of white guys.
What do these three have in common other than devastating good looks? They're all dads. And today we are going to be debating the best way to cook a delicious, nutritious, packed lunch for your kids or yourself or your significant other that they might actually want to eat. Each of these three has cooked a publicly available packed lunch recipe. We're going to get to all of that in just a minute. But first, we're going to have a little open forum on packed lunches. So welcome to the show, boys.
Thank you.
I'd
Thanks.
like to state that I think there's over 75 years of culinary experience at this table, which is crazy to think about.
There is over 75 years of culinary
Many
experience.
Michelins of stars of restaurants worked at.
That we have brought today to talk about the best way to pack a lunch for your kids.
I will have to say that in all the times I've done in Recipe Club, this is the stiffest competition.
Yeah.
By far.
Yeah, I don't think we've really ever had three professional chefs in a row in this club. We brought in the big guns for the little kids. So which brings us to our first topic, really. You're all incredibly well-trained, well-seasoned veterans of professional kitchens who now, I believe, all make lunches, who all now work as private chefs.
These guys have the competitive advantage here.
Why is that?
They've been dads much longer than me.
Okay, but
we all have two kids as well.
That's fair.
I think his kids and your kids are about the same age.
10 and 9.
Yeah, what do you got, Andrew?
15 and 10.
Yeah.
Ooh.
He's actually been doing it longer
But with
than
that
us.
said, I have not packed very many lunches.
Okay, so this is interesting. Let's go through here. Days of the week out of 5 possible days for you to pack a lunch for. I mean, not just your kids, maybe your spouse. Mark, how many days of the week are you packing lunches?
4.75. Every once in a while, my wife will take that reign, but basically 4.75. I'm packing lunches.
Is there a noticeable difference in feedback on that 0.25 days a week?
I don't want to. No comment. No comment.
That's a yes. Dave?
If I'm in my house, I'm making their food, their lunch.
Are you also making lunch for your wife? Are you like leaving lunch at the house?
Yeah, but that's like in a pot.
Right, to be reheated or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Andrew.
Very rarely.
What is very rarely? Out of 5 days, out of this week, other than the one that you made for the club? Zero.
Yes.
0. Is that just a
My wife handles that responsibility.
Okay. Interesting. We have you might be at a competitive disadvantage here. Dave and Mark, you both have lived abroad, specifically in Asia, for extended periods of time. You've seen a lot of packed lunches in other countries. Like, what does a packed lunch look like? I assume better in Asia?
Ugh. Well, we just moved back from London. In London, they have a cafeteria. You don't bring a packed lunch at all. So they just had that fish and chips Friday. Not loved in London. Soggy fish, soggy chips.
They served it in aluminum.
Yeah. In Asia, my kids weren't. My kids weren't old enough to really have packed lunch, so I didn't really see packed lunches in Asia. But I assume they're good.
Yeah. Well, you saw school lunches specifically, Chang, when you were in Japan. Was that the same thing where like every single kid eats the hot lunch there?
I ate the food with the kids.
And the kids serve it.
Yeah.
It's like the craziest thing. So like packed lunch.
So in Japan, kids go to school starting at the age of 5 with no supervision. So they'll sometimes commute an hour plus, which is crazy. And also these are public schools. There's no custodians and there's no janitorial staff. So all the kids do everything themselves. They have one person usually making the meals, and they batch it out, and the kids get it, and then they serve it to all the other kids, and you sit down, you eat it, and they bust the tables themselves. And it's usually something that's like a homemade Japanese meal, like, konnyaku with carrots and tofu and rice. Always rice. Delicious.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a food you want to eat every day.
Absolutely insane relative to like what we're talking about today and generally. But all right, so Andrew, what did you grow up eating in your lunch? Did you take cafeteria lunch or you guys pack lunch?
Usually cafeteria. I think maybe like when I was younger, like pre 10 years old, I did get the pack lunch.
Yeah.
Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it was all about the lunchbox too.
Mm-hmm.
You had to have your,
Do you have a good one?
your He-Man lunchbox or your Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I don't remember, but
So
but like standard stuff: sandwich, bag of chips.
what about you guys? What did you guys have for lunch at school as kids?
I mean, Asian people do the lunchbox very well in general, not just in Japan, but
Did your parents do it well? What did you have for lunch?
Getting kimbap packed to school, that was like, I wouldn't be cooking today if it was treated or
Right.
accepted.
If you hadn't been ostracized for your school lunches, you wouldn't be doing
I
this.
was like, were you stoked, and then your friends at
I don't
school?
you know what I mean? And it was
No,
like,
but were you made fun of?
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. I was like, like today again, everybody eats these little nori snacks, the kim.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Korean people do that forever.
Yeah.
And then people are like, you're eating weeds,
My daughter loves that.
So I just never wanted to have it brought to school ever, zero. After, once you've been made fun of because of your lunchbox, you're never seeing anything that's not white ever again.
You're just dumping it in the trash.
Bologna
right
sandwich,
away.
peanut butter jelly sandwich.
Yeah.
It's funny because I also hated lunch at school, but it never, for some reason, it never occurred to my parents that they should just pack me what I liked or what they knew how to make. It was a very it was different. Like they didn't do sort of Chinese food in my lunch at all. It was like a very this is how we assimilate. This is what we're going to make. This magazine says it's supposed to be a sandwich of something. You take two pieces of bread and you put something in the middle. So it was like a lot of sandwiches that I was like, this is so gross. Like I still to this day, I can't eat like 2 slices of bread with some like a slice of cheese and a cold cut in there. Like I think it's so disgusting. So like that's what I ate. Super American lunches. I had Lunchables. Did you guys rock a Lunchables at all?
Yeah.
Rarely.
No.
I always
At the
wanted
very end.
Lunchables, never really got them.
I wanted them. I got them, and then I hated them. They're like so bad. They're so gross. The pizza one is the worst one of all. You brought this idea of the lunchbox, which became popular in America in the 50s. Prior to that, it was wooden boxes or just oiled paper or metal pails. Do you guys feel this now? I feel maybe this is like a liberal elitist West Coast bias, but every single kid in my kids' schools have bento boxes now. There's no brown paper bag. Do you guys? What do you send your kids to school with?
Yeah, it's some variation on that. The segmented thing, so you can separate out. Very easy to distinguish what is each thing.
Yeah.
My kids don't want the oranges rubbing up against the cucumbers and stuff like that.
Segregationists.
Yeah, for sure.
Not only segregationists, this is about a podcast really is about appropriation, man, isn't it, Chris?
I mean, say more. Do you feel that way? I mean, it was the kim.
No.
It was the seaweed, but now it's also like bento.
Take whatever you want, America. It's all yours, baby.
Do you send the boys with bentos?
Bento box. In
Bento
fact,
boxes.
today I packed these guys' lunches and they're bento. My kids' very own bento boxes.
We
did
will
they
get
take
to
to
the
school
extra
today?
credit work.
They have
Dave
a lot of
did.
them.
We'll
They have a
get
lot.
to the-
We have a lot of bento boxes. And again, I don't know. Last night I checked to see how many goddamn water bottles we have. I don't even know how. It's just like gremlins. They just multiplied again.
It's the
Our
water.
kids' generation, the most hydrated generation in the history of universe.
My
It's the water industrial complex, man. They're
You'd be
doing
so
good.
thirsty. How can you
open
be so thirsty?
the water bottle cupboard
like
at my
six-
house.
It's like
the
they're all
door,
on
they
Molly
come
or
falling
something. I
out.
don't get it.
The water bottle thing is out of control. Like none of us had water bottles at school.
You are weak if you wanted
No.
water.
you just drink out of
You
the drink
just
fountain.
knew which water faucet like blasted more, and which
So you
one
didn't
was
have the
light
French
one.
kiss, the water faucet
you
that
knew-
barely dribbled
You
out?
knew the one that shot,
Yeah.
so that you didn't have to make out with the water faucet.
Well, every
That's
single
how I learned to kiss.
it shows, Dave. It shows. We were never supposed to drink out of the middle fountain for some reason. Maybe that was just my thing.
that was your first girlfriend. Huh?
Oh, still is. Old faithful.
On average, according to these statistics I have here, an American kid will eat 1,500 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches by the time they graduate high
I don't
school.
think that's true anymore.
Do your kids ever eat PB&J?
They can't. My son's allergic.
Oh, we can't have peanuts.
Ooh.
Not really. No. I mean, there's all the rules that you can't bring
Yeah.
it to school, but even if my kids don't really eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches,
I'm going to go out on a limb and say I don't even know that peanut butter and jelly is that good of a combination. I don't like them together. Do you like them?
no, I never grew up eating them. It was always peanut butter and honey. That was it was like, oh man, if I can
That's
get honey.
real white people.
And marshmallow fluff.
Yeah.
Okay, Elvis. Do you like PB&J? You come on. you do.
Maybe when I was younger. It's not.
I love PB&J. It's great.
You
know
love it.
what?
Yeah, it's fucking
Like
great.
a grilled
I can't do it.
PB&J is really good.
You know?
like a grilled cheese. You toast each
Oh, like
side
melty, gooey.
with the butter. Yeah.
It's like I feel like putting on Don McLean, American Pie, watching old Don Mattingly clips of the Yankees. You know? So I feel American.
Do
I
you
wanna
have
eat apple pie. I wanna
an
eat apple pie.
American flag bandana on too?
One hand over your heart, one hand on a PB&J, just chowing down. Okay, I understand that. 85% of packed lunches have sandwiches. How often are sandwiches making it into the lunches that you or your wife are packing?
My kids don't like sandwiches.
Yeah, me either.
They just don't even understand it.
Yeah. I don't, they don't,
100%. My kids do
Yeah.
not eat sandwiches at all. That's why I was excited about the spam onigirazu, because it was almost a sandwich, but it's made with rice.
I have to do roll-ups and crepes. You know,
Kid, some picky kids. My
Yeah.
kids will throw back a sandwich.
yeah,
for sure.
what's the go-to sandwich for the kiddos?
Turkey cheese, the sandwich you were just talking about that you hate.
The turkey cheese. The
Turkey
turkey cheese
cheese.
of those
She-
85%
she
of packed
likes
lunches,
the mayonnaise.
turkey cheese is the most popular
A lot
one.
of times I've noticed she'll take the bread off though and like just eat the meat and cheese and then just
My-
throws it
my
right back
keto
in
bro.
there.
He's a keto bro.
my son Gus is the opposite. He doesn't want fillers. He just wants the bread plain. So sometimes I just pack a
wants
slice
the
of bread.
bread.
Just slice sandwich.
Slice
bread.
I'm
bread.
with you.
Yeah.
Sometimes Keith will just get 2 Hawaiian rolls, and I'd be like, "What am I going to put something in the middle for? You don't want anything in the middle of this thing. What do you want for this?" So let's talk about this. When you Google kids lunch recipes, you get 575 million recipe results. Generally speaking, for each of you, what makes a good packed lunch recipe, like a kid's lunch or whatever? Like what makes it good? Is it just about them eating it, just about something the kids are going to eat, or is there something? Are you shooting for? It has to be nutritious. It
I
has
think
to be X,
before
Y, or Z?
that, I think there's one step before that, and maybe you would agree. You would understand since you've never done any children's lunch.
Honestly, ever
before.
since he found out you don't really make them, I've noticed Dave's having a harder time looking at you.
is
Jealous. I don't have to do it.
is if it can be served warm, they'll eat it.
So this is a good point.
This is like they're so goddamn spoiled. If it's cold, my son has said like, what am I supposed to do with this?
It's not food.
I can't eat this cold.
Okay, so we should back up here.
Yeah.
How often are you sending them, Dave, with a thermos or some sort of insulated hot food container?
I say 50% of the time with Hugo. So by the time he opens it, because he really just wants buttered pasta a lot of the time, or I'll do butter soy pasta. Sometimes with momofuku noodles. I know it'll be just warm when he opens it up.
Right.
Alternatively, Gus doesn't want to open up anything.
Mm-hmm.
He'll just refuses to even try to open up something.
He won't even look at
Won't even look at it.
It's like,
You know? But like he wants things like, and he won't eat pizza. You got to cut up a cold pizza for him. Yeah.
So here's
But
my
he would
question.
rather have a warm pizza. I don't know how to do that one yet.
So
It's like you got to get hot stones,
yeah,
put them in
something.
between stones or something.
you've got to go to the school ahead of time, bury them somewhere. Be like, come find it in here. It's right here. It'll be here for you. Do you ever send the kids with warm lunches?
Yeah, actually, this week I just bought thermoses, and when you were mentioning like what I grew up, it was like nobody had warm lunches.
Never.
Growing up. It was always cold lunches.
Somehow it felt colder after sitting in my bag than it was when it's like than it could have possibly been. So cold.
But now it's like I literally boiled wontons, had chicken soup in the thing, and it was like a 2-part thing, and I was like, what am I
All right,
doing
I feel
now
your pain.
to construct this? And the kids are like, oh, it was just barely warm, and I was like, get the out of
And
here.
more importantly, you do something. I've done that kind of shit before. Comes back just the same amount that I put in.
So I've had more success, like to your point, Dave, when I send, the thermos and it has soup or, there's noodles or whatever, fried rice in the thermos, or I'll wrap up a bean and cheese, stick it in the thermos and then close it as like a little hot box for the bean and cheese. But they get so snobby where it's just like, the noodles kind of got mushy after a couple of hours. And I was like, I gave you a hot lunch, kid. Like, what are you talking about? In our house, by the way, the Momofuku noodles are known exclusively as Dave noodles. Like this is what they're asked for. When you pack a lunch, how much are you considering like this is, I mean, Dave, you said you're considering like the sort of temperature drop over the course of 3.5 hours or whatever. But I sometimes feel guilty where I'm like, oh, it's really nice. I packed this lunch, but have no idea, like after the jostling and the kid throws the bag on the ground and like over time, like how much does the sort of travel factor into your thinking of packing the lunch?
I only think about it when I pack fruit.
Yeah. If it can jostle around too much.
Yeah, like it's hard. It's hard to pack fruit unless it's apples or orange slices. So occasionally you can do strawberries, but you got to really pack it in. And grapes again, but like any berry,
will be much.
Makes very difficult.
Yeah,
which is why
difficult.
I just been doing a lot of freeze dried strawberries.
Oh, interesting. Just like
freeze dried berries.
Yeah.
What about apples? Do they oxidize and your kids are like not going to touch it because it's a little bit brown?
Because each one of them individually with a little piece of lemon. Just
I do.
Got a little spritzer?
I do.
Do you?
I know.
I toss mine in lemon juice.
I lemon juice them up.
Yeah, so they don't oxidize. What are you doing, Mark? You're
Me?
just letting them brown over
It's
there?
like, dude, deal with it. That's what I did. I'm trying to toughen up my kids, man.
I do think, fruit is tricky. Packing it correctly is tricky. But I feel like packing lunch outside of like the spring, whatever summer months is way harder because you can't pack, like there's not as many fruit options to throw in there. Like fruit is a great equalizer to me. What else? Before we get into the kind of specifics of the recipes you guys cooked, in your general experience, in your limited experience, Andrew, what are like the big winners? You can't go to them all the time because kids will catch on to you, but like what have been the secret weapon dishes, the recipes that have, highest success rate for you guys?
Butter, rice, soy sauce, and a thermos.
So the all pre-mixed butter, rice, soy sauce in the thermos,
But like
warm rice.
enough where it's every kernel of rice is slicked in butter.
It's like movie theater popcorn style, dressed in butter.
That's how they want it. That's how they want it.
Yeah. And by the way, you should say this, like Dave, one of your big philosophies on this has always been like, unhealthy for me, great for the kid.
I'll put half a stick of butter.
Yeah.
I don't care. That's
Throwing that into oatmeal.
Cholesterol medication.
They're not on baby statins.
No, they need to gain weight.
Children's statins. They got to pack it on. What about you guys? What has been like what are the successes?
I recently have been doing like Shanghai scallion noodle, burnt scallion oil noodles.
Sky over here.
And you can make the scallion
I barely
oil.
have time to make that on like a weekend.
all your scallions are going bad. You just fry them in the oil. It's sitting to the side. Take some of that oil, toss it with dark soy sauce, light soy sauce, a little bit of sugar, boil the noodles, toss.
This guy
Boom.
took my Shanghai scallion noodle virginity in Shanghai.
Oh,
Yeah.
you did?
Yeah.
You fed it to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was delicious.
I mean, it started with the water faucet,
Yeah.
then moved on
moved
to
up to
the
noodles.
scallion noodle.
We just skipped right past second and third base.
Oh my God, man. Andrew, what do the kids love?
What do they love? Anything prepackaged And
Oh, they love
and
like a
he's sort of
Lunchable type of thing.
Not necessarily Lunchables, but like cookies, whatever little chips, snacks
Let me
that.
add one thing
That's
too.
always successful.
He's
You never hear
100%
complaints.
correct. You're 100% correct. Anything prepackaged,
Never going to
any
complain
snack,
about that.
like that's what they want. But I have to have a rotation of snacks, right? Pretzels and chips, but I can't like do it too much.
Right, because they'll be like, this was my
Yeah.
favorite snack in the world. If you give it to them 3 days in a
So
row,
I'll be
they're
honest, I have
hate
like
this.
15 different kinds of chip things, rice
Yeah.
crackers. But the
Pirate's
one thing,
Booty.
Pirate's
That's a
Booty,
good one.
all kinds of shapes of that shit. The one thing that I do quite a bit is I will pack, and I won't keep this hot. Sometimes I will, but I'll just put room temp leftover chicken tenders or chicken nuggets straight in, and a little packet. It's important to give them a little condiment thing.
My daughter ranch all the time with carrots, cucumbers, whatever.
Yeah, so today we're talking sort of about the the effort thing, the dish you're going to make, the homemade thing, but I think we can all agree at the end of the day, what we refer to, Dave, as the top of snacks is the best, most successful option. You just put like 6 different snacks in there and they're just going to be happy. They don't give a shit about whatever you made. That being said, that's not the podcast. That's not what you guys were assigned. That is all for our open forum discussion today. We are going to move on to recipe reports. So each of our 3 Recipe Club members here today, 1 vet, 2 rookies, has chosen a publicly available kids' lunch recipe to take out for a spin. This week, those recipes come from the Food Network, the New York Times, and Just One Cookbook. 3 pretty big, familiar recipe sources that if you search for this shit, you're going to find on right at the top of your results. Dave, Andrew, and Mark have cooked their assigned recipes, their chosen recipes, brought the results into the studio for investigation. Somebody did some extra credit. We'll get to that in a second. And we all tasted them, jotted down the notes, which I have here in front of me, and we're going to get into the particulars right now. So first, let's go to one of our newbies, Andrew Miller. You chose easy sesame noodles from Food Network. This is, I'll give a little bit of background on this recipe. When you find this recipe online, it's pretty high in the SEO as far as kids recipe goes. It was part of kind of the Food Network's package of kids recipes. It is credited simply to Lunch Lady. No link to who or what that is. No idea. So Lunch Lady, if you're out there and this recipe was yours originally, we salute you, but Food Network gave no way of finding you. It says the sort of recipe thing as a whole said, from colorful wraps to homemade chicken noodle soup, these tasty bites are guaranteed to make your little ones smile. So, Andrew, as this recipe had 0 reviews, I know you cooked this and sent it to school with your daughter. Did it live up to this guarantee? Did it make your little one smile?
She smirked. She had a little smile.
So tell us about the recipe. Tell us about your process of cooking this thing. You actually made it twice.
So the first thing that caught my attention was the word easy in the beginning.
One of these students. Yeah, one of these students. Uh-huh.
But I think like at the end of the day, with packing a lunch, that's pretty important, right? Like with my little experience, you know, you don't have a lot of time. You got to throw it together quick and get it out.
So talk us through the process. Like what did this recipe call for? What did you do? How did you digress from it?
So there's 4 components to it. There's the noodles themselves, edamame, lightly pickled cucumbers, and marinated tofu. The recipe is also very vague too. It doesn't actually have much of a recipe to it. It's just like buy this, get that. So like it calls for basically dressing the noodles in pre-prepared sesame dressing.
Okay, so the recipe itself calls for leftover spaghetti. I'll go through this a little bit for you here. The recipe itself calls for a cup of cooked leftover spaghetti, 2 tablespoons of prepared store-bought toasted sesame dressing. You make these quick pickles, but it's sugar, salt, vinegar, hot water. Pour over the pickles and let sit. I think overnight, which I don't know if that still qualifies as quick. Yeah. So did you buy store-bought sesame dressing? Did you buy pre-marinated tofu, and did you use already shelled edamame? Like, what did you use?
I couldn't find the shelled edamame, so I bought it with the shells and just chucked it myself. But
Did you double shuck them?
come on, no.
Right? Hey, I know you would.
I know, right? He definitely
I
would.
know you would.
Yeah.
I know I wouldn't.
They're lucky they were actually shucked at all.
So let me say this. Let me give you a taste. Actually, Dave. I don't know if you were in the kitchen this first day. So Andrew actually made this recipe a couple of days ago in our studio.
Yeah.
And I came downstairs and all of our producers and everyone had eaten it for lunch and they were like, it's really good. And I was like, Andrew, man, everyone liked your Food Network easy sesame noodle recipe. Like, you follow it? What'd you do? He's like, yeah, I followed it. I mean, I made my own dressing. I made my own pickles. I made my own tofu. I was like, wait, what the fuck do you mean? So you went off book.
So yeah, but then I went back to book for
Which one tasted
version.
better?
The first one.
I mean, come on. That recipe kind of sounds like Sandra Lee's semi-homemade. It's just like putting some stuff
Take
together.
it easy on the former first lady of New York. All right, take it easy.
Very semi-homemade. But okay, so let's go piece by piece here. Do you have an objection to the store-bought sesame dressing?
The one I got was actually good. So my only objection would be, and my daughter's objection was like, it was too tangy. Was the dressing. And it is kind of weird to just pour salad dressing over noodles.
Chef, if you were going to make your own for the listener, right? How would you make a homemade sesame dressing?
The dressing I did the other day, what did I do? I did soy, garlic, ginger, soy, rice vinegar, sesame oil, just blended together.
I would add some sugar as well.
Yeah, agave I did too.
MSG, and I would, if you have tahini, I would do that. You can.
Yeah, I didn't. That's what I should have done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Toasted sesame oil.
Well, so this is really interesting because it says like go find prepared toasted sesame dressing. But of all of those ingredients, really, because even if you leave out the tahini, you might as well just go buy some toasted sesame oil. You can make this yourself.
I have a lot of experience buying this stuff, right?
Yeah.
I think the best one, if you're going to buy it at the supermarket, I don't know the name, but it's not the sesame dressing. It's the one that is for shabu shabu.
Yeah, it's the it's the dip. Yeah,
the dipping shabu shabu sesame dressing is like
know what that is. You know what that is I think it is the thing that people are obsessed with. That like Benihana is like that.
No, it's I'm telling you right now. If you get the shabu shabu sesame dressing, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't taste like a human could make it. It's so good, and that's the one I would use. And I bet you if you use that, you put that on anything, it's good.
Yeah.
I can't believe I just let a secret out like that.
The QP one is pretty good too.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
The QP
too.
brand one?
Yeah.
But I would say in general, sesame dressings are pretty good. But it's something you can like really make well yourself at home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is it's the same effort to go buy some sesame oil as it is to buy the sesame dressing. Getting into the one you made today, what kind of changes did you make?
So I did use the sesame dressing. It was something that was a Whole Foods.
Whoa. We love Whole Foods here.
Oh, Whole Foods is great, but the dressing itself, well, you know. So it was kind of thin.
The 1 weak spot.
The 1 weak spot is the sesame dressing.
So you store bought dressing.
let's
Store bought the dressing.
Technical difficulties today.
Store bought the dressing. I added mayonnaise to it because it wasn't really like coating the noodles, you know. And I don't think that was maybe not the best decision, but here we are.
Tofu, did you use marinated tofu or did you marinate your own?
So I bought some tofu the other day. Didn't like that. It's hard to find good marinated tofu, I feel like. Because it's always like the extra firm, like brick tofu. Mm-hmm. So I went out and just bought like normal firm and marinated it in the same basic ingredients. Just grated some garlic and ginger on it, soy sauce, agave, a little rice vinegar, a little oil. Let that marinate overnight. And I think it actually came out pretty good.
And then sort of last question before we get into some of the feedback from your fellow club members here. What did you make of the spaghetti as noodle here?
That's the easy part, I think. The leftover spaghetti. Probably not the best choice of noodle, but you know.
Okay, so I have some feedback from your fellow members here who tasted your dish. Dave found it to be well seasoned. The tofu was nice. The cucumber was nice. I agree. I thought the tofu was really, really nice. Your marinated tofu was great. Marc found it to be. I'm sorry. This is literally the first time I'm seeing these cards. Here are 3 positives about the dish. Healthy. That was one of Marc's comments.
Seriously.
Healthy? Yeah.
It's healthy.
Did you do a little nutritional analysis of this?
Yeah. I mean, That is part of when I think about making lunch for my kids. I'm like, I want it to be somewhat healthy. And
That's
I'm
why
like,
I picked
that's
part of the reason I picked the recipe
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah.
And it's like all things that she likes and she'll eat, like edamame, cucumbers.
Yeah, that was what
Tofu.
my exact positive was. Like these, all of the components of this are something at least my daughter is into. Tofu, edamame, pickles.
I'm telling you right now, if you put alfalfa sprouts on that, I could imagine Jerry from your local macrobiotic health food store, the kind of health food store with the brown faded sign, a Formica floor, and like these giant aloe vera plants sitting out front.
Maybe that's the next chapter of my career.
So I'm sure if you're watching this on YouTube or on the Spotify app, you will see a picture of the noodles. But Andrew had sort of portioned a little portion into a small any day bowl for each one of us. And I think when Dave saw it, I had the same exact reaction. I was like, "You put this in a plastic clamshell. This is just from a health food store." Some criticisms, some critical feedback for you. I said my 3 criticisms. One was just mayo. Dave echoed this by saying mayo, gross. Mark thought the noodles ended up clumping, which I think they kind of stuck together a little bit.
Fair.
Taste was on the sour end.
Yeah, I thought they were a little sour. My kids are pretty sensitive to
The
sour.
noodles themselves you're talking about?
Yeah, the dressing on there.
That was my kid's
Yeah,
complaint.
I mean, you said
and
that.
that's why I had the mayo, because I was trying to make it less
I didn't think
tangy
the
and
sesame
sour.
dressing, it was like more vinegary than it was sesame. It didn't have like a lot of sesame to the dressing, I think. Let's just address the elephant in the room here. What's up with the mayo, man? Why did you do the mayo? Did you panic a little bit?
I just told
Did you panic?
Because of the tangy thing. I was trying to get it to tone it down a little bit. And big mistake. It's okay.
The one you sent with your daughter did not have mayonnaise on it.
No.
Would you guys all agree though that if we put these 3 out there to a blind taste test as a every man on the street, every woman on the street kind of thing, that this would be the winner?
Oh, yeah, in terms of
Most
just
popular?
a general American public, if you put the
Just shows
3
you
out
how
there,
democracy doesn't work.
It's like Americanized, whitenized Asian food.
I think it
kinda.
crushes.
All 3 of your kids, all of your kids like tofu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
not my son, my daughter, yeah. Your kids are no tofu?
They're kind of like lukewarm on tofu.
My
They're
kids
not
have
like,
been onto it since
I
they
don't
were-
think
here.
they would
Your
like see
kids are
sliced tofu.
half white and half Asian. Whose fault do you think that might be that they're not
Kids
into
have-
tofu?
That's not Mark's
Very-
fault. Mark's more Asian than me.
It's true. They just don't like it. No form of it.
No, it's not that they don't like it. It's just not something they would see sliced tofu and be like, "Oh, I'm so excited to
They would
eat
just
this."
maybe push it off
like,
to the side
yeah,
and eat
they
the
might
rest of
just
it.
like
They
end
crush
up in
the
the trash.
noodles.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Edamame, cucumbers, noodles, no problem. It's just the tofu. I'm not sure they'd be like, "Oh, I'm excited about that."
Dave, you did remark that this is just personal preference. People will love it. What did Mark and Dave, what did you guys think about, I mean, we've talked in the past on this podcast, on the Dave Chang show, about maybe angel hair as being kind of the most Asian of the pastas. What do you think about spaghetti in this context?
You know, if it's end of days and you're hungry and you come across a store that
And a
they have a
bottle
box of spaghetti
And they have
and
mayonnaise.
some mayonnaise,
Yeah,
and you're like, oh, I just have enough ingredients to make some version of sesame noodles. Yeah, it's good.
I guess my thought with the mayonnaise was like, I was like, this is like pasta salad, right? Like,
We've done everything to get rid of the wheel of death, and yet the apocalypse version just still reared its ugly head. I will say, in your defense, I prior to this, I was like a fundamentalist. No fucking way spaghetti can ever sub in as an Asian noodle, ever. There's just a difference between like chew and bite.
Yeah.
You know, like Italian dried pasta is like has like bite.
But spaghetti's no different than lo mein.
Yes. So, but in this context, I was more happy with it than I thought I was going to be, I will say.
I feel some of the biggest shit I've ever gotten for cooking Asian food at home is from my wife when I did spaghetti, and she's like,
did you use mayonnaise?
"No."
Did you explain to Stephanie who Marco Polo was?
It was like a hard stop moment where I was like, "Oh, okay, can't fuck with that."
You're right.
Let's take a quick break and then we'll get into our second one. All right, Andrew, you'll have more opportunity to make your case for this recipe later, but we're moving on to our second recipe. This one is the one that Mr. David Chang adopted. It is for chicken ragu hand pies from the New York Times. Kim Severson wrote this recipe to accompany a piece she had called My Quest for Lunchbox Supremacy. It calls for a leftover chicken ragu, essentially packed inside of a short crust. It has a 4-star review average from 264 reviews. Mr. Chang, why'd you pick this one? Talk us through your experience of it.
I chose this one because it was like the second from the bottom on the list, truthfully.
What does that signify to you when it's the second from the bottom? Let me guess. By choosing the second from the bottom, you were like, this implies that I've read through this list.
Yeah. I felt bad that I was asked several times, choose your thing. And sorry, Kelsey. And I was like, I'll choose one right now. And that's what I did.
Okay. So it was a real just like pin the tail on the donkey 100%. Kind of moment. Okay.
I've never, not only did I not know who made the recipe, I didn't even look at the recipe.
I was sitting there again.
Truly, this is all, you guys are my witnesses.
I bore witness to this. Andrew bore witness to this as well. You wanted a general picture of what the recipe was. You were like, okay, so what is it? Like,
what are the ingredients?
What are the ingredients? What is it? Okay, so it's basically a dough, and is there any binding in the filling? No. Okay, you said this. Does it call for leftovers? And we said yes. And you're like, okay, so it's a good recipe. So what did you actually do? You eyeballed the crust.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, I did not think it was going to turn out well at all. I had very low expectations, considering making like a short crust kind of thing is not my jam.
I was going to say, I'm so surprised you picked it because you are not a crust
me.
dough person.
I have the exact measurements here. It was 3-ish scoops of flour.
Exactly.
Whatever butter was left, a stick and some, and then one of these, bloop, bloop, of ice water were the ingredients for the crust, right. And then salt.
And you said some of the ice got in there, right?
MSG, I put MSG in there and Parmesan. But the thing is, I use crushed ice because you want it cold for the butter and the formulation and the hydrate, whatever. But like, I also blended it. We used the Thermomix, and I blended it for like on the dough for like 60 seconds. I added, I don't know how much water, but I added 2 different batches of water. But the key point I think this is why I think in my opinion it worked, a little bit of shards of ice got into the dough. It was like Spider-Man being born. Peter Parker turning into Spider-Man.
I couldn't believe that some of that ice escaped your sophisticated filtration system of 2 fingers on the edge of a quart container trying to stop them.
So much like Peter Parker with the bite of the spider becoming, the hero we needed. I don't know how many shards of ice, microscopic shards of ice got in there, but it was a perfect amount of blending mixture to sort of like layer in ice with butter shards and ice shards to the point where I don't think you can never make this dough ever again.
You can never duplicate it.
So
there's no way.
The big differences in your dough, before we move into the farce side of things, were Kim's recipe has egg. You omitted egg. You added, like I said, some MSG, some
I
Parmesan.
I did an egg heavy cream wash
on the top.
Top.
But essentially a short crust, a very improvised short crust in your
No
your
one's
case
ever
here.
made anything like this before.
Then more or less you followed the same methodology. You rolled it out to,
I would say. That crust was insane.
I will say you rolled out to about a half-inch thick. You cut kind of like
No, like how I made it was like, what the
No, it was absolutely bananas. It was bananas.
I don't understand how it happened. I still am shocked. It's a little bit like the Washington Commander season. Like, I don't know how it happened, but I'm happy about it. Okay?
Those little shards of ice were the Jaden Daniels of your crust.
I don't know how it happened. When it came out, I've never seen the marbling of butter like perfectly. Like, I just was like, this is crazy. I don't know how this happened. A guy like me is not supposed to make something like that.
A guy like me is not supposed to make something like that. I should never have landed a crust like you. So then, of course, for your filling, you didn't have any leftover Andy Baragani chicken ragu.
No, but we had some of it.
Eat some Andy sausage.
We had some sausage from way back when on a Dinner Time Live. There was a lot of sausage made, so we had that in the freezer, and I took that out. I originally thought it was like a sage breakfast sausage, but turned out it was not that at all.
9.
This was actually my favorite moment was I was watching you make this. So your farce was basically rendered bacon, onion, garlic, and then this.
No, I didn't render bacon. I rendered the sausage
You just put the
first.
bacon into the
Because I didn't know that
microwave?
bacon was supposed to be in there until I saw the bacon. I was like, oh, I guess bacon's supposed to go in the
But you were making this sausage farce, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna put some maple syrup to like double down on the breakfast sausage. And I was like,
It's not breakfast.
bratwurst, man. And you're like, oh, you stopped and just.
So I get the recipe, there was fennel, a couple of bulbs of fennel. So I was like, guess this is going in there, and onion. So I chopped out the onions by hand and I added some bacon lardons, probably like 4 strips of bacon, 6 strips of bacon.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized that this is leftovers, and why am I trying to use any knife work whatsoever? Then I put the fennel bulbs in the Thermomix and blended that with garlic and added all of that and some leftover shallots and whatever into the big pot with the pan with the sausage.
Mm-hmm.
Then I seasoned that with a lot of Maggi, some Worcestershire, and sugar. What else? I didn't add any black pepper or any spicy elements that I would normally want because this is for children.
Mm-hmm.
Both actual children and adults that have a childlike palate.
Which we have surrounded ourselves with. And so you let it cool so you didn't blow
I didn't really let it cool.
You didn't add any binding to it. It was a loose filling.
No binding.
The original recipe just says to the original recipe's credit, it just says whatever leftover sort of, not liquidy kind of ragu you have here will do. And then you baked it at 375?
375. Yeah, put a cream egg wash on it and ate it right out of the oven. And I knew it was fucking delicious. And I thought it was one of the best bites. I've said that a lot, but this really was because I was like, this was supposed to be garbage.
So let me paint a little picture about how happy you were about this. I have 3 pieces of evidence that I'm going to point to. One is yesterday after we recorded another podcast, Dave had to leave straight from the studio to go pick up his children. He gave very strong consideration to being late to pick up the kids so he could go back to our studio just to eat one more hand pie. Not to go get one, to do anything, not because of anything else other than he just was going to go back.
Because then it would have been properly rested and warm. And we ate it really right out of the oven. I was like, man, if it was that good then, imagine how good it is.
Point number 2, he brought extras today and was asked to be distributed to our production booth over here. Every 10 seconds after they get brought back there, he's like, did they eat them yet? Have they eaten them yet? How many of them are there back there? Are they left? Have they eaten all of the pan pies yet? And point number 3, which brings us to our critique here, is Dave Chang, 2 episodes in a row, you've gone out of your way with the plating but this one was pretty special here.
Listen, the first episode was about love, clearly an important part of my life. And
so they call you the love chef.
And in some way, this is tied to that first episode. I like what you've done here, Chris, tying each episode to the previous one. Love, once again, is present here because I pack my kids' lunch and I want them to feel the joy and the love of how I feel about them in this box of food. This is a packed lunch, and I wanted to show how serious I take this, okay?
You put them in bento boxes. Literally his kids' bento boxes because Andrew says Hugo Chang on the outside of it. Mm-hmm. You threw in some additional snacks.
You don't have to act when this is how you do it every day.
And little notes. To go with them.
The notes were very impressive.
And here's the deal.
Very touching.
I only had 2 clean bento boxes at home, and I realized, oh, shit, Chris has to get one too. And I was like, I'm going to leave a little note, and I'm going to say, hey, just as an example of what I do with my kids. Hey, Andrew, I made your favorite hand pie. This time with sausage, something like that. And I said, oh, by the way, we've been talking about sharing. If you see one of your classmates without food, maybe you'd like to share. And that's what this young gentleman did today.
And Andrew,
do we have a tissue box, man? This is too touching.
And Andrew,
when I read the note, I got that same tone of his voice, like, "Hey, Andrew.
Hey, Andrew. Who was the note signed from?
From Dad.
Yeah.
Papa.
Papa from Papa.
Papa Chang.
Okay.
Thank you, Papa. I will
And
share.
listen, like, whether I win or lose, that doesn't matter. What matters was you shared your lunch with this
My schoolmate,
poor soul over
my
here.
classmate.
Yeah.
Poor Chris.
I did get my portions. Thank you, Andrew, for sharing with me.
I didn't give him any of the cookies though.
I had, I flashed back to those moments when I was a kid when I opened my backpack and I was like,
Oh,
Mom! It's like goddamn lunch. All right, here are some of the feedback. I'll start with the positives. Mark says this was easy to eat.
Yeah. I think it's very important for my kids just to be able to eat it.
100%.
Pick it up and eat it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Like you get complaints if it's like, I didn't know what to do with this thing.
My son can't like pay attention for more than a few minutes. So if he can just grab something and eat it.
That's why they
it's
like pizza. I don't even think they like pizza, but they like that they can hold it.
They can sort of just like mindlessly do the thing. Presentation was very nice. I think you appreciated the box there. Andrew, you and I both thought the crust was very, very nice. I said it was insane.
A day later, cold.
Still crispy.
yeah, that's the remarkable thing.
Actually, let me ask you this, Dave. Did you reheat it all or did you just take the chill off in the fridge and pack them up?
The ones actually that you got
Yeah.
were the ones that were not reheated because I did try to reheat and they lost a little bit of the crunch.
That was actually it was remarkably still crispy and like crunchy and flaky, even just out of the fridge for maybe an hour and a half or something like that.
They say in like quantum physics that
Yes, of course I do know what they say in quantum
that like
physics.
there's there's probably a universe where at one point in time a pot of boiling water is completely flat.
Yeah.
You know,
Given
there's like no
it's
tension on the
entropy,
water.
given
Yeah,
Are
given
we
the
still talking
randomness.
about kids
Yeah.
packed lunch? Or
Welcome Recipe Club.
I'm just simply saying that is my moment with short crust. It will never happen again.
We're gonna have to get to this because this is gonna play into listen. We're gonna get to that in a second. Some criticisms here we have. Andrew, just like a kid, would rather have it hot. I honestly couldn't think of criticism. I thought maybe for a second I was like, oh, what is like the ratio here of filling to crust? Do I want more filling? And the answer was no, I didn't want more filling. I actually I don't know, it was pretty uniform. There also wasn't like a huge like crust rim where there was like no filling and no taste or anything. It was a nice size. There's no dry outer shell that I didn't want to eat. Mark thought it could be a little crispier.
I want it crispier. I want more texture.
And personally, he would like stronger flavor.
Yeah.
Well, again, this is for children.
But my kids would like, he says.
I cook for you kids. That's bullshit.
They've matured.
How did this dish compare to other versions you've had? Mark said good. How does this dish compare to other versions you've had? Andrew says tastier. I said really astounding pastry, like a perfect, Western curry puff. Now, there are a few questions on here that I do want to ask you. Because again, the point of Recipe Club here is to provide our audience with a clear recommendation at the end. The winning person, the winning club member in each episode is gonna be the one who gave the sort of best advice to our audience. So I have to ask you, Dave, you did eyeball this.
I'll make this again.
That's my question.
I'll make this again, but I'll use pie crust that's pre-bought. Or I'd even say you could probably do this with puff pastry to be good too.
So that was my two
It's
questions.
also important then that it doesn't, you're not adding any like wetness to it, right? If you're going to do a farce, pork or some kind of 30% fat ratio is probably a good thing. That's why I think the bacon fat is also important because it needs to be enriched with some kind of fat. If it's lean, it's going to be terrible. So bacon is actually, you don't have to use bacon, but if you're going to add that to chicken or ground turkey, if you just did ground turkey, it's not going to work unless it's in a, very fatty environment. So you need to add, I think 30% of the farce needs to be fat.
Very fatty environment is the
Well,
name of my childhood bedroom.
Pates and such.
Okay, so those are my two questions. One was, Dave, ultimately it's going to fall upon me to decide whether, I loved the result. I thought the hand pie was delicious. I don't know if we've actually just said that. It was like really, really good, like really, really delicious. It was even better hot, but like the fact that it held up as well as it did, it was astounding. When I make my deliberation, I have to ask you, if somebody doesn't have your method, is the idea itself of a short crust with this sort of fatty, dryish filling, is it a strong idea on its own?
Yeah, I'm going to make it for my kids because now I can do anything in there. I never even thought about making a hand pie.
Yeah, I agree. The second thing is
because of the portability of it. And that's why it's like, if you don't have sausage, I don't give a shit. Just roll up some cheese and fucking ham, stick that fucking thing in there. You know, there's all kinds of shit you can put in there.
When I looked at that recipe, I was like,
love you, kids.
I could make Japanese curry and cook it down really thick. Let it sit there, scoop it in there, and my kids would love that.
There's a lot of things. It's a very versatile thing. As an idea, I think it's a winner.
Here's my Miss America pageant style question to you. If you were to win today, Dave, would you be able to make a video for our audience where you do sort of give proportions and show them how to do this? You said you could never make it again, but can you show them how to do this?
Well,
Just like
I think the most important things are peace and can we count on a demonstration of how to do this?
sure.
There it is. All right, for our final recipe of the day, it is Marc Johnson's choice Spam Onigirazu from justonecookbook.com. This recipe is from Namiko Chen. This is Just One Cookbook because I think generally the top hit if you Google any Japanese dish in America, right? Like this Just One Cookbook pops up. She says, the ingredients are similar to classic musubi. All you need is Spam product, rice, and a nori sheet. Mark, had you ever made this before? What was your experience with this? Did you follow the recipe? Tell us what's up.
I've made Spam musubi. I've never made this before. I want to do the hand pie because I was like, this is something that I can freeze and keep because I'm always looking for stuff.
This isn't a show about regrets, dude.
Stock the freezer.
What is this?
But then I saw that and I was like, oh, my kids would definitely eat this.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
it's
sorry.
gonna be
What
delicious.
is this, by the way? Describe this. We haven't talked about what this is.
It is kind of almost a rice sandwich. So if you think a layer of rice, fried egg, Spam, a little bit of lettuce, furikake, and then wrap it in nori, and then you slice it, and it's kind of a rice sandwich, really, at the end of the day. All the flavors are and stuff. Spam, you can debate the healthiness of it, but I think has all the health and fillingness that I would love it for my kids to eat. And it's tasty.
And so the methodology basically is, and according to this, and I'll ask you, you take a nori sheet, you kind of orient it diagonally, so it's a diamond. You make a little rectangle of rice in the middle. You're layering your Spam. What did you do? Like a medium over easy egg on the top?
Yeah, I did a medium. Yeah, about a medium. I think you could go a little bit more because once you press it, the yolk just like pours out everywhere. She had a onigiri mold, like a rectangular mold that she pressed it into. I did not have one, and that's where I was getting creative with how I went, and I ended up using a ring mold that I had at home and pressed it into a ring mold.
Could you? Okay, so here's question one. She has this little wooden rice mold where you can pack it all in there. Everything's gonna stay straight. You used a ring mold. Can you freeform this? Like, how hard would it have been to just freestyle?
You do need it pretty compacted, so it does help to have something. I mean, trying to think of various things. I mean, if you took a takeout container and put it into like a pint or like something like that, cup container, and put it in there, but you do need it pressed. If it's not pressed, it falls apart everywhere.
Oh, the look on Dave's face makes me want to ask, could you have done it with freeform without a container?
No, you can't.
Yeah, you need to press it in to compact it.
Yeah.
Okay, so then it's the Spam which you're pan frying, and then like mirin sake soy.
Yeah, mirin sake soy.
Glaze
Toss it
it.
in that. Put it in there. Lettuce on top of that. Furikake. That's it.
And then you're sort of wrapping up like a Crunch Wrap Supreme, basically a little tight package that you then sliced in half for everybody. Okay, well,
2 Taco Bell references in a row. Wow.
What is your impression of this? I actually haven't asked anybody else. Like, what do you think about this recipe? Are you recommending this? Are you into it? Did the kids eat it?
My kids would definitely eat it. I thought it was delicious. It's just a little fiddly to make in the morning to do. She recommends at the end of the recipe that you could put it in the refrigerator overnight. And I'm like, you can't put rice in the refrigerator overnight. She said, actually, I think to wrap it in a towel. And I was like, I just don't think it'll happen. It'll be too tough.
Like
so
a
I
wet
think-
towel?
Yeah. No, she just has a towel. Just wrap it in a towel. And so
Like a beach towel?
Just a
beach towel
towel.
in there?
Yep. Just say, good night. I'll see you tomorrow.
A little blanket.
I just think of my mornings and I'm making breakfast and then I'm making that. It seems pretty tough. Now, if we're on the go and would I make these to go take to a picnic or the beach or something? I would. I thought they were delicious. It's just a little bit much. But I did make them pretty big. So I would only have to make one for my kids and cut it in half. And then I'm like, that with some other stuff, some snacks in there, I think you could make it. So if I was up early, had some rice left over from the night before, maybe I'd make it. But you could also change the fillings. It doesn't need to be Spam. You could put bacon. You could put various other stuff in there.
Can I ask you, in the cookbook, the recipe, does she cut it in half?
The what? Yeah.
She says to cut it in half. I think she says to do it just because it looks pretty.
I think it is for the shot on the website.
But you're wondering about eating structural integrity.
I think, just for one cookbook, maybe didn't go to science class.
But also, if you don't, it's wrapped in that plastic. It's wrapped in that plastic, so the kids are gonna have to unwrap.
What is your
it.
implication
Structurally,
here?
because you're compacting so much, right? I'm sorry, I'm jumping the gun on your thing.
No, but what you were saying is cutting in half.
It is a great recipe, but you're compacting, putting so much into that one bite, and it's a house of cards.
And by cutting it in half, you have exposed one entire side of it to.
You're literally
collapse.
saying, "This is my Achilles heel."
Hit me right here. Okay, so let's get into some of this feedback here. I think everybody. No, Andrew, you didn't comment on this. Dave and I both commented on the construction of this thing. I said it was a perfect construction, very, very cute. You'll see a picture of this again if you're watching this on video. It looks beautiful. It looks absolutely beautiful. Dave says, well constructed, but maybe too well constructed. I did wonder, this raises the question here, you're very good at this kind of thing.
This is so MJ. It's so stupid.
You're very good at this kind of do you think everybody, if it was a little fidgety for you and it took a little long, what do you think for the average person?
Yeah, it would be hard. I also found the lettuce slides off a little bit. Yeah, it's not for everybody, for sure.
Andrew thought it was easy to eat, which we have identified as maybe one of our most important aspects to any kids packed lunch thing. Similar to your dish, you said it was all things that kids like for the most part. Nice job on the egg, Andrew said.
It was
kind of a perfect egg.
That's some pro shit right there.
By the way, we're currently.
I was feeling the egg.
It was really nice.
I'm also going to say, we're currently in a crazy national egg shortage. It looked like you had a nice quality egg. What's up, dude? You got a special line on eggs that we don't know about here?
No comment.
That was
I still have a line back on the Buford Browns back
his
in
own
London.
chickens.
Those real pro moves.
Dave liked the texture, liked the presentation.
The iceberg lettuce was very nice.
I did not like the iceberg lettuce. For some, I don't like when it gets that wilty. You like a wilted iceberg.
No, it had. I'm surprised you don't like it. You like General Tso's chicken. You like soft crunchy, and this is soft crunchy. I thought it was super, super good. I wonder if it's meant to be. You know what I mean? Like at some point you're not supposed to be, extra large on steroids because your body can't handle it. That's what I mean by too well constructed. It's just there's just too much for the physical construction of this musubi to handle it.
Yeah. So that was my
points deducted for doing too good of a job. Basically.
Well, my question is,
it's like a spring that's ready to shoot out.
with the sort of fidgetiness of having to put it together, with the kind of it's a lot in there, and it does depend on it being very.
What are those boxes called when you wind it up and it shoots out?
A Jack in the Box.
Yeah, this is a Jack in the Box onigiri. This is what it is.
Jack in the Box onigiri is a different thing, but brought to you by Jack in the Box. My question is the convenience of it, that sort of temperamentality of it.
Yep.
Is it better to make this kind of onigiri sandwich than it would be to make an onigiri or a musubi for kids' lunch?
If I was to think about, I would normally just put rice, layer all that stuff in, and then they would just have to go at it with utensils because I'm not trying to make something so precious.
Yeah.
But if they got that, they would be stoked. Like I said, if I woke up early and I was like, man, I want to treat my kids today, I'd make that. Otherwise, it would just be rice, spam, egg, and that, like, have at it.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. Because that was my question was, like, is the effort, is the juice worth the squeeze? Dave, you do have a question here about, you did say it was an innovative spin, updated take on an Asian American classic, maybe as a BLT?
I think it is, to me, this is like quintessential Asian American, if you make it as a BLT.
Yeah.
You don't need the egg. I think the egg you don't need, as great as the egg cookery was. You don't need the egg.
You were checking the temp on it just like by feel, you psycho.
But for an adult, like, if you are trying to like not eat gluten or stuff like that, you can eat a very nice it's a BLT.
Yeah.
And really, you don't even have that bacon. You would just use Spam.
I mean, it could be a club sandwich.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, so we've heard all 3 recipe reports. We are going to dive straight in now to our closing arguments before we pass judgment. Andrew Miller, this is the part where you've got the floor is yours to stand up for your easy sesame noodles from the Food Network as the best way to pack a lunch. Or you can say something you've heard today or tasted today might be better. The floor is yours, my friend.
I guess mine, the first point is that it's easy. It's all stuff you can make it ahead, store it in the fridge overnight, and it's ready to go to pack up in the morning. It's healthy, and it's all stuff that generally, all things except for your kids, that kids would eat.
Mr. Chang, stand up for maybe not the exact chicken ragu hand pie, but
I can stand up for hand pie. I've been making everything in crepes and lavash as of late, but I think I might be doing more hand pies because of the portability of it. You can do so much, and it doesn't have to be whatever. I didn't even make the exact recipe, and I know people might be thinking like, why don't you make the exact recipe? Well, it's like, you're never going to have the exact ingredients, and a lot of these recipes, they'll tell you like, choose your own adventure a little bit.
Well, your recipe did say whatever leftover.
Yeah, so I did follow the recipe. Fuck you.
You imaginary hecklers. Marc Johnson, the spam onigirazu, spam rice onigiri sandwich. Is this the best thing to make for our audience when they're thinking about packing lunches for their kids?
I mean, if you want to treat your kids and they open it and they're at the school lunch table and they're like, ooh, look at what I have. I think you would kind of win points with your kids, and your kids would be like, dang, and then it's pretty delicious. So they'd be like, it's a double win there. It's extra effort, but
before we get to a winner, I just want to review maybe the 3 big takeaways, the 3 easy steps for all you people trying to make better packed lunches. I think we've identified a few things. 1, ease of eating when you're packing a lunch for your kids, I think is pretty key. They're distracted. They're talking to their friends. They're sitting at the lunch table, whatever. If they can just pick something up with one hand and eat it, that's probably a win for you. Second, what Marc was just talking about is return on investment, right? You're going to generally keep it simple. The musubi is a simpler version of the onigirazu sandwich, right? But to Marc's point, is it a treat day or a regular day? Are you doing something nice for the kids today or not? Like, calculate that in your mind and figure out the point tally. And finally, the big takeaway that we identified right away from the beginning was none of this fucking matters because all they want is packaged snacks. Like, that's the real secret, guys. Don't do any of this stuff. Just get some snacks and make a tapas plate for your kids. Finally, the moment we've all been waiting for here. After much thought and careful consideration, I, Chris Ying, have decided upon who should be the winner of this episode of Recipe Club. I think everybody had every one of these had its merits. I think Andrew, you brought up the good point that this thing, whatever it is, it's a bunch of stuff that they want to eat. You're not necessarily going to convince kids to eat something new because you've presented a new way. Present the things that they want to eat. Dave, while you didn't follow the recipe exactly, I agree with you. It hadn't occurred to me to make a hand pie as like a great way of, packing up a meal for the kids using leftovers. And Mark, I really enjoy the idea of like, there are days when I want to win points for my kids. And on those days, I'm going to make this sandwich, but there can only be one winner. And based on, I think, overall, my enjoyment of the thing and the fact that I will probably most likely do this for my children, today, the winner of the Packed Lunch Recipe Club episode and our fabulous prize is none other than, and it pains me to say this, Mr. David Chang.
Hey, guys, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It had to happen sometime for you, right?
No.
Apologizing to his competitors.
Mark should have won. Mark should have won, in my opinion. Andrew definitely should not have won.
Actually, I should have asked that before. We didn't do that. Who do you think should have won other than you, Andrew?
I would have won with Mark.
Oh, Mark.
I would have voted Mark too.
Yeah.
Mark, who would you have voted?
Him.
I mean, myself or Dave.
Okay.
I really like the hand pie. I like the idea with it because you can freeze it and then I can just like cook them off when I need them.
That was actually the thing that
It's like
tipped
to
it
get
over.
out of jail in the morning when you're like, crap, dude, I don't have time to do anything. I can just throw them in the toaster oven and bake them. So I think it's more realistic that I would make something
The
like
thing that tipped the scales was that bit that she said you can store those rice sandwiches overnight, which I fundamentally disagree with.
Yeah.
Can I give my winning to Mark because he technically won?
You cannot give the victory.
Listen,
you can give the prize.
I already won because Andrew shared with you.
That's a parent's. I've already won as a parent today. You cannot give away the victory, Dave. Unfortunately, you can give away your fabulous prize. Although I don't know why you would want to. David Meyer, what the fuck is that? That's a hamburger-shaped insulated lunch bag.
Wow.
If your kids both want it, then it's more of a curse than a blessing because we only gave you one. If neither one of them wants it or you don't want it, at least you should bring your next recipe to Recipe Club in this thing.
Actually, my kids would love it, but Grace would hate it.
Mark,
Yeah.
Andrew, you're not leaving empty-handed. Our official cookware sponsor, Meyer, is sending you both home with a packed gift, some
wow.
IO series
That's pretty nice.
cookware to make your next great packed lunch in. Thank you, fellas. Thank you, Andrew,
Thank
Dave, Mark, for joining us on this episode. Thanks to all of you for watching and listening.
I thought winning would have felt better. It feels terrible.
It doesn't feel that. It doesn't feel that bad. Recipe Club is brought to you by The Ringer and Major Domo Media. Visit majordomo.com to find the recipes. Join us on the Discord. And Dave, as that winner, we are going to expect a little video demo of your next hand pie. So stick around for that.
I'm never going to try this hard ever again.